In the wild, mysterious depths of Brittany, France, sits an old abandoned shack. Surrounded by ancient oaks and home to all manner of forest dwellers, it is here that we meet to share our stories. So pull up a seat, swing that light, grab your favourite beverage as we share another tantalising tale in the Freakin Shack.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Shack. So for this season, this series, whatever you want to call it, we are going off-piste, if you like.
We are unscripted, as it were.
Unscripted. We've decided
I think it's better sometimes. Sometimes to do the scripted ones is nice to have some degree of idea of what we're sort of saying and you know what we're responding with and things. To have some kind of thing planned is lovely. But I actually really enjoy having we have no idea what's going on.
do have an idea of what we're going to talk about. We do have
we have a basic plan, but
headings, and I have a book with notes in.
Bullet points,
and not a script to look at as such.
The only script I have is I just have the story. I have a story.
Perfect. But do you have a brew? I know you do.
No, I haven't got a brew. No,
it's not a brew.
Tonight. It's Sunday, and I have a Lannister glass, Game of Thrones style Lannister glass, Cersei Lannister, very much that kind of shape. If you're listening and not watching,
lovely.
Not quite the big metal goblet thing. Mine's just
I've got a metal goblet. Look.
That's a thermos mug.
It is a nice insulated mug to keep my milky coffee hot. And it's more of a coffee. It's more of a mock,
but it will keep me warm.
It's more of a mocha than a coffee. So a little treat, seeing as we're
currently recording this on Easter Sunday.
We are. So we're going to hint at a little of Easter. Me and yous is on our own.
Me's and yous. We are flying solo without researcher Rich, without Mort.
Yes.
We are flying solo together, which is weird.
Yeah.
But you know what we mean. We don't live in the same house,
but we are in the same shack.
We are in the same shack. Yeah,
here,
absolutely.
In the shack together.
But yes, it's been quiet in the house lately. Obviously, not having Indy here, taking up time and energy and space, and you know, I kind of miss it when we're recording because I'm so used to him coming in and walking around and just as he lays down.
Yeah, Indy's down.
He has landed, yeah.
He has landed. If anyone goes back and listens back to some of our previous episodes, they will sometimes hear the clip of Indy's claws on the floor.
Yeah, bless him. I mean, it sounds terrible because it sounds like I didn't cut his claws, but they were clipped. He just never picked his feet up, ever.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was just stupid little exercises with him where I put a bamboo stick over the top of two tiny little cones, right? And he could not step over that without kicking it off. No way, not a chance. If I got him to go over it really slowly, 1 foot at a time, he would pick his feet up and go over it. But if he was just walking, drag his feet like anything. So it always sounded like he hadn't had his claws cut. He had, they were fine.
Brilliant.
Anyway,
love it.
Yes, my house has been very quiet lately. Just me and the cat at the moment,
and it's just me and my dog Marlo at the minute. And she's been.
At the time when this goes out, we'll be busy again.
Yeah, we will. Yes, we'll have the men folk back, and I shall probably be working on the shack then. It's having lots of work done to it. I'm going to film some of it and actually put it on the YouTube channel. So, but it's going to be painted and turned into a witchy shack.
Love it.
It needs a bit of a buff up.
Needs a buff up.
Oh dear.
So where are we starting? Where are we starting
Well,
today?
I thought seeing as it's Easter, I thought we might start with a little bit, because we were talking a little bit about Easter this morning because of your TikTok post.
Yeah, which hasn't gone down very well.
No, nobody wants to
TikTok
play.
seems to have gone, no, you're going to piss everyone off with that, so we're not putting that on. I didn't say anything bad.
No, you didn't. You didn't. But I did. I probably did.
Your comment. Let's just give everybody the lowdown on what I was talking about.
Tell people what you were talking about.
So I found a chap's video that I stitched because it was a great question. His question was, what did Jesus die of the second time around? Right? After he was resurrected, what killed him the second time? And I was like, actually, that's a really good question because I can't remember. So anyway, I went downstairs and I found my Bible off of the bookshelf because I do have one. And I looked it up. And I discovered that he was, I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing. It was something about, because the chap on the video had said, he'd asked, what did he die of the second time? And what did he do until then? Did he just hang out? Or, what was the situation? So I discovered that he took 40 days to explain and prove that he was who he was saying he was. And, talk to them about whatever he talked about, himself, God, what happens after, whatever. Did a whole thing on that it was not for them to know the seasons or the time. That was, God took that into his jurisdiction, which I don't like. Sorry. Oh, sorry, you're not allowed to know. That's for God to know, not you. So you have questions, you're not allowed to.
But I questioned that because I said, was that actually Jesus's words or was that just somebody's interpretation? Men's interpretation.
It could have been. Because there's 4 or 5 different accounts in the Bible of what happened in the resurrection. So it's a very good chance that was just one person's input. I don't know. Anyway, so I'd sort of said that this is what I'd found and blah, blah, blah. And then it says that he essentially ascended. He was carried upwards, and in the phrasing that I've got in my Bible, it says he was caught by a cloud, caught by a cloud taken out of view or something. And so catch clouds was what I decided that was where he went. Your comment of he was uploaded to the cloud was absolute genius. And I think that's absolutely it. Yeah, Jesus resurrected and was then uploaded to the cloud. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. I wish I'd been that quick.
God just pressed the upload button and that was it.
Yeah.
It
uploaded into the cloud.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh, brilliant. Anyway, so that was the video that I put on this morning. And yes, I had a bit of a rant about the fact that the other thing that I was seeing a lot of on my feed this morning was the Artemis rocket to the moon.
Well, that's right,
doing
yes.
the slingshot around the moon. And it frustrates me when people believe a story that's been written thousands and thousands of years ago and is massively flawed because we don't actually know, because they can't even decide in their own book what actually happened. But we believe it wholeheartedly that it is truth. And then you literally watch 4 astronauts get onto a ship, blast off into space, take a photo and send it back to Earth, and they go, no, it's fake. And I'm like, what? How do you suddenly develop critical thinking to the point where, no, that can't be real?
But then didn't someone say that it couldn't be real because they could see Earth, but they couldn't see satellites?
Yeah. Where's the satellites? I don't think they realize how large the Earth is and how small the satellites actually are.
Yeah, I think both of us described it very similarly.
Quoting. I was quoting Harrison Ford from 6 Days and 7 Nights when he said about them being lost on that island, and he said it's like trying to find a flea on an elephant's ass. Exactly.
Yeah.
You said trying to find a flea on a black dog, which is equally as difficult. Yeah.
Equally as difficult.
Hello, Kitty. Can I just say you just scared the shit out of me? Thank you so much for your visit.
That was Indy sending her up. Yeah. Kitty flyby, that was.
Yeah, that was Indy telling Kitty she's recording. Now's the time to go and interrupt.
Now's the time to go and annoy her.
She has been in this room with me all afternoon. She has not once jumped up on this desk. There you go.
Yeah. A little sign.
Yeah.
So I thought what we would actually start off with, and I'll just throw a few bits at you and see what you think. And I have my book. Look, notes on books. I don't have to do all this stuff. And for those of you just listening,
the written page works so much better than technology.
Yeah. For those of you just listening, I don't have to keep poking my camera to turn it on and off, because
you had essentially got an auto cue before that was like rolling.
It was.
And it went sometimes,
and sometimes it would roll when we were trying to chat with each other and I'd lose my place. So I've got to try and remember how to say all these things now. Where do you think the original Easter tradition comes from?
Which one?
The religious one. Yeah.
Okay. Are we talking the Christian one?
No,
that's what I was thinking. Okay. Because if I think of the ones that I have heard about, we're looking at like the changing of the seasons, fertility, things, renewal, yada, yada. So a lot of the pagan stuff comes initially to mind.
Yeah, pagan, folklore, all that sort of very traditional stuff, which I'll get on to in a minute. But the original religious Easter thing is a Jewish tradition.
Really?
Yeah, lots. It's weird because what is Easter in French?
Pâques.
Yeah. In lots of other countries, it has a very similar saying. And it starts with P, all over the place. Germany, Norway, all over Europe, Eastern Europe. It all seems to start with this P sound that sort of sounds pash, pesh, all these sort of. It comes from the word pesha, which means Passover, which
fisherman, pêcheur.
But that's where it comes from. It comes from this pesha sound, which is from the Passover, which obviously in the Jewish faith was the focus there was on the Jewish liberation from slavery. Christians then changed that to Easter. So that's where it comes from. Lots of countries still call it this word that sounds with a P, which is from the distant Pascha, which is the Passover. So, but it is now, Christians changed it to Easter with the focus on, instead of the liberation from slavery, it was the liberation of the spirit. So it was the Spirit of Jesus Christ, the liberation of the Spirit of Jesus. In Germany, it got called Ostern, And that was from the German word ostro, which was to do with the spring equinox. So now we're starting to see where these two things linked to the goddess of the sun and the rising of the sun.
Which would be spring. Is that like physically in terms of the sun being in a higher position in the sky? Was that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about actual sun rising in the morning?
The sun rising in the morning.
Oh, I see.
So it would be ostro, the German word ostro, spring equinox, which is that, or that is linked to the aura of the sun, meaning air, and hustra, meaning dawn. So at Easter, Christians will wake with the dawn and welcome the rising of Jesus at sunrise, the rising of the sun. I'm going to give you a link to a really good YouTube channel where I got a lot of this information from. Mine's a little bit bitty, but the bloke on there really does explain it very well, with obviously lots of bits of film. So he was then looking at the different months of the year, looking at the months and the way they were set out in 3 monthly intervals. So the calendar for December is Yuli or Yule for December and January, where you have the Yule log. February is Sidmurath, which is the heart cake month.
What's February? That's Valentine's
Day. March is Herethmonath, the goddess Rethmea, goddess of glory, probably related. It's probably related to war, which of course Mars is linked to is it the Roman gods of war? Is Mars or March?
Yeah.
So there was all that going on. Then April. So March to April, which is around.
I have a cat licking my arm. Sorry. Hi, kitty.
Which is called Estur Monath, and it's Aosta. It's called, which is the goddess of dawn and goddess of the spring. Aosta. What did the Christians call this time? Easter.
Oh.
So they didn't actually
I had
change
not made that connection between those words. I'm sorry. So this is because of my dyslexia and vowels. I have issues around vowels. But yes,
so in
I can hear that.
In actual fact, the Christians called it a very similar word to the goddess of dawn and the goddess of spring, which the pagan name Estur or Easter were both actually at a similar time of year. So,
of course,
the crucifixion and everything happened at a very similar time to this celebration, if you like, of new life and fertility and the sun being being longer in the sky and all that sort of thing. And also they would have special sort of sun dances at dawn, where the Christians would also be there at dawn to welcome the Spirit of the Lord who has now risen. So it was all around about. Sometimes they're not quite the same dates, but they're in very similar area. So
they were, because the Christians generally came along afterwards and had to kind of make everything they had fit in with everybody else's. So they got a few more people on side. So, that makes sense. But it would be roughly at the same time.
Yeah. So the egg was also a Christian tradition. So it was a theme of fertility. The bunny it came from the German tradition from about 1572. And it was a story, and we actually did this. I might try and put a link to one of our previous episodes all about the Easter bunny and the Easter hare. And it was about a hare who would lay eggs. There's a huge story behind it as to why this hare laid eggs.
Listen to a lady this morning who was talking about how Easter, she'd moved to the UK, and she'd always known it as being a chicken thing, as an egg thing. It was always the fertility thing, the new life, blah, blah, blah. And she'd said, and then I turn up in the UK and I'm now living here. And she said, and now we have to worship this guy. And she's got this very pretty little bunny. And she was like, what is this about? Where did this come from? And somebody had put in the comments about, it was something about the fact that they, sorry, it's all about fertility. They breed like rabbits, and it was very funny. That's not the case in other places.
From what I can remember, it's something to do with I think it is the Estra god, the goddess of the morning, or like the goddess of spring, fighting with the god of winter. And it was something about an issue with them. And he tried to kill, every time she tried to make things grow, he was killing it off with the frost. And there was something about a hare or a bird. It was a bird. The bird died, but she could bring the bird back, but in a different form. It couldn't be brought back as a bird. She brought it back as a hare. And because it had been a bird, it laid eggs. It's all to do with these old folklore stories. But I will definitely put a link to that story that we did last year around Easter, all about that.
Yeah, definitely.
But that's where it comes, and it's Germanic. It comes from Germany, and the area of Alsace as well, which lies right between France and Germany. I was going
to say, it's now in France, but it used to be German. It used to be part of Germany, which is why we have the Alsatians and German Shepherds.
That's right.
Because Alsatian is now the Alsace is now part of France, but they were considered German Shepherds.
Yeah. So the rabbit eggs, or the bunny eggs, which came from the hare, was an initial tradition from the Celts and the Britons in Alsace. Who'd have thought, eh? And in actual fact, it had something to do with Boudica. When she was about to be killed or something, she opened up her...
I believe that's pronounced Boadicea.
But it used to be Boadicea.
It was Boadicea, then they made it Boudica, and now it's gone back again. So
I don't know. Well, whoever it was who I was listening to today said Boudica. So she opened up her cloak and she allowed a hare to be freed. And they said that has something to do with these Germanic and Celtic links to the origins of the hare. But it also comes from... So the origins of Easter is now a Christian festival with a pagan name. So Easter and Easter. So there you go. There you go.
Very cool. Very cool.
I should have swung
was
swung that,
uploaded to the cloud.
swung that light. Yeah, we've uploaded it now, or we will upload this to the cloud.
Yeah,
When
just like Jesus.
just like Jesus. Yeah, he was before his time. Let me just say.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, God knew that technology was
on its way.
on its way.
Yeah.
Except he's got a much bigger cloud and far more memory.
Ah, good point. Well made. Like it. Yeah. I was
And
trying
I
to think of
bet-
some way of
I
getting the
bet-
cross into that whole situation, and all I could think of was it wasn't a physical cross. He was just bloody furious.
No, he doesn't get cross at all. He doesn't get cross at all because he doesn't even have to pay a subscription for the iCloud memory.
Well, there you go. Yes. Yeah.
There you
It's
go.
just wrong, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all wrong. So there you go. That's some of the things I found out.
I like it.
So I'm
Did you
leaving
have
it all up.
questions about that, or did you have questions about other things?
No, I didn't really set any questions as such. I just thought you
Okay.
would sort of pipe up as you went along. But if anybody's got anything they want to add,
That's because I
to
normally do. Just it's a usual thing that Steph just pipes up, and
Yeah.
it's fairly accurate.
it was more about some interesting facts about how the folklore and the different cultures from the different countries all sort of came together, and that's sort of where the Easter celebrations come from. So it's a real mixture of stuff, really. And there are some people who go more to the pagan folklore side, and there are some people that go more to the traditional Christian side.
And
So-
I mean, I'm just here for the cheap chocolate when it's all over.
Yeah. Chocolate. Yeah. Chocolate eggs.
Because I mean, win-win.
Yeah. That was the best discovery of all. So,
Yeah.
what have you got for us?
Well, I've got a little story because we were previously talking about skeptics and believers and people, ghost hunting and debunking and all that stuff that we were talking about last time, and how technology has gotten involved and stuff. And it got me thinking about what I believe, what I think. And
Okay.
because as much as I'm not a believer, I don't automatically believe it. Do you know what I mean? I'm not somebody that feels things. We know this. We've talked about this a lot. But at the same time, I'm not here to disprove anybody else's experiences. So I'm not somebody that's going to sit there and say, well, that's a load of crap, blah, blah, blah. That can't happen. Or, well, there's got to be an explanation for it. No, I am perfectly willing to accept the fact that I don't know is a perfectly good response to a lot of these situations. And that's my take on it. Sometimes I don't have the answer. I'm not trying to disprove anybody. I'm just sitting there going, well, I don't know. Because if somebody is saying that they've had an experience, who the hell am I to tell them that that wasn't true or right or accurate or real? That's crazy. So I've got a story, which I think represents that feeling of, I have no explanation for this. But it is weird. So would you like to hear my story?
I've swung that light.
Swing that light. So this is a story from Britain. Okay. I don't know exactly when, but we're not necessarily talking like Victorian times. We're not talking about 1800s, blah blah blah, right? In the era of cars.
All right, okay.
As cars being quite a popular thing, This story is all about a couple. A couple had 2 young daughters. They were sadly killed when a car hit them. As any parents would be, they were devastated. However, the father was comforted by the feeling that their girls would come back as their next children.
Wow.
Okay. However, there was another issue with that theory because the wife had already been told that she could no longer have children due to medical issues. So imagines everyone's surprise when she announced she was indeed pregnant. The husband said he just knew that it would be twin girls and that they would be his girls returned to them. Doctors disagreed that his wife was pregnant with twins, but they later discovered that they were in fact going to be parents to twin girls. Yeah, weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
The twins arrived, and strangely enough, one of the twins had birthmarks that were very similar to the injuries suffered by one of the deceased girls. When the twins were around 4 months old, the family moved away from the area and said that they had a lot of bad memories of the accident and they wanted a fresh start. However, years later, we don't know exactly how many years later, okay? Years later, they returned for a visit. Incredibly, the twins immediately began to recognize places that they should not have memories of due to leaving when they were approximately 4 months old. The parents figured that this showed that the girls were reincarnated spirits of their lost daughters, and therefore they would know of all these places. They could point out their old school, their old house, and even the accident site. The couple overheard the twins talking about the actual event, and one said to the other, "See, that's where you were hit."
My goodness.
They would also talk about toys that they had previously owned. These obviously matched the what the parents knew that their deceased daughters had also played with. There were other signs too. The twins were afraid of cars. Not just the usual anxiety, but irrational fear, if such a thing can be called irrational. I don't believe that there are such a thing as irrational fears. I know there's weird things to be afraid of, but if the fear is there, there's a rationality going on there somewhere that it's a threat, wherever that may come from, in my opinion. I'm also not a psychologist, so I don't know, or at least not a human one. They would become really upset and would not want to get near cars at all. And the parents put this down to the past trauma that they went through in their previous lives. As the twins grew up, they stopped remembering these events and memories, and they just grew up like normal girls. However, the couple were always convinced that their twins were reincarnated spirits of their previous daughters. And this is one of those stories where somebody there's that sort of, that person that wants to, you can sort of almost hear it where someone's going, yeah, prove that then, prove that wrong. And it's like, well, I don't want to. I don't want to prove that wrong. Because why would you want to do that? I have no reason whatsoever not to believe what the parents are saying, that this coincides with what their previous daughters did. I have absolutely no explanation for this at all outside of they were potentially reincarnated into these twin girls. There is no explanation. So I am going with, I don't know. I don't know. But what a weird thing.
Open-minded. I've heard
Absolutely.
lots of stories of children who come out with memories that they have or they seem to have of previous lives. Some of them have literally gone all the way through and traced the person who they say they were. And there's no way that the child could ever have known.
But they can trace the fact that the person that they say they are
Yeah.
They existed. The things that they said happened to them happened to this person.
Yeah.
And it can be traced.
Yeah.
How do you explain that?
There was an Indian child who was born and grew up telling her parents, I think she was still in India. I'm not certain about that, but she kept talking about her previous family, where she lived, what the house looked like, who her sisters were, who her husband was, who her children were. And in the end, they were able to trace the family, got in touch with the family, and because of the deep faith in reincarnation, the family were open to meeting this girl.
Wow.
When
I would be so curious.
Yeah. And apparently when she got close to the house, it was all recorded. I don't even know if there was a television program about it. I'm not sure now. But they drove her so far towards the village, and then they said, like, so where's the house then? And she took them straight to the house. She told them what colour it was. It was a different colour when she got there. But the people said, no, it was yellow or something. I can't remember now.
My life. This is
And
the
then
thing. It's like,
but then she met her husband and her children, who were still living there, who obviously were years older, and like her sisters and her other members of the family who
could you imagine losing someone like your partner, and then somebody turning up at your door saying, I think my child is your husband, your wife, your sister.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And I mean, I just want to quiz them. Do you know what I mean? I would just want to ask questions.
Yeah.
And maybe that would be inappropriate to do to a child. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either, because, I mean, she did spend time with this family. But again, I think after so many years, the link
Current
between
life kind of overwrites
the old life.
One.
Yeah. But there was another one of a little boy who, as he grew like to an age where he could start drawing, but he used to cry, and he didn't like going upstairs, and he didn't like big buildings. If they drove past big buildings, he wouldn't look at them.
I think I've heard this one. Yeah.
Yeah. And it turned out in the end, when he got to
and would climb into the footwell of the car so that he didn't have to look up at the buildings.
Yes. And he would draw pictures of people falling out of big buildings. And it turns out in the end that they found the name of the person. I don't think they actually ever advertised the fact of whose name it was, because they didn't feel it was right for the family who lost that person.
Yeah.
But the details that he was able to give at the time led towards one particular person who died in the Twin Towers.
Oh, it's so sad.
Yeah.
And so difficult. Now, even if you sort of don't think that this is the case, right? If you don't think that the reincarnation is a thing, surely even then you still see a child having to cope with things that don't make sense to them. You know, things that are conflicted in them.
Yeah.
When they're being told they're a child, but their memories are of them being an adult, being, you know, that must be a very strange thing to figure out. It's because part of me feels like it's unfair that those memories are kind of overwritten. Because I feel like as an adult, you might be able to make more sense of it.
Yeah, normally, apparently, any memories from a previous life, if you believe in that, should be overridden when you are born. But obviously there are some people, some children, who still retain the memory of their past life for some time. There was another one of a young boy who was turns out that he believed he was a producer of films back in the 1920s, and actually found a photograph of himself. I saw a little tiny film the other day of a child who says that you're my other mummy, but my mummy before, and talks about her. But then this girl was saying that she kept saying what her name was. My name is, and she was mentioning a name. And the mother was just like, this is weird. The name is my grandmother's name or a great grandmother's name. I can't remember.
Wow.
Until in the end, she got a photograph. Now, her daughter's never seen a photograph of her great grandmother. And she got a photograph of her great grandmother and brought it in and showed it to this little girl and said, do you know who this is? And the little girl looked at it and pointed at it and then looked up at her mum and said, that's me. And her mum was like, oh my God, what do I do with this information now?
Wow.
Am I bringing up my own grandmother? Yeah. So,
see, this just brings me back to that movie, What Dreams May Come. If you haven't seen it, go and see it, and take a box of tissues with you.
And it's a Robin Williams film.
Williams film.
I can remember bits of it, but I can't remember all of it. But
it's a very colourful.
It is, movie. Yes.
It's a very colourful film. It's the best way I can think to describe it. It's very old now. It's an old movie now, but the whole concept, the whole thing is just heartbreaking and beautiful and comforting, but upsetting. And it's all a mix of emotions that go on in that one. So,
yeah. Perfect. But something to ponder.
Absolutely. We like a bit of pondering on a weekend.
I started looking, we can do just a few of these if you like, at some weird questions that were thrown out on Reddit. And one of them was...
I love Reddit for this. Go on.
You are in a so-called haunted house, and you are apparently communicating with a spirit. What would you ask? And the very first person at the top of the list said, the numbers for the lottery next week.
I mean, I'm assuming that this being would be from the past if they're already dead. So would they know the lottery numbers for the coming week? Potentially not.
Well, that's what somebody else had actually asked, because someone else did say, can you travel forwards or backwards in time? Which was a very interesting one, because just recently I listened to a near-death experience where somebody had said that they'd gone to this place which was like a huge library, but it was like a library of video film, right? And you could ask. There was somebody there who was watching something to do with the American Civil War and was watching a fight between Southern soldiers and the
Union or the Confederates. Yeah.
Yes. So there was a fight between them with horses and all sorts of things. And he was like looking over the shoulder of this person going, nobody was around with a video camera at that time. Why?
Oh, did they have a wand and a pensieve?
And basically, this is what he was told, that everything is recorded, everything is remembered, and it is part of.
So it's like a memory library.
It's like a memory library, yeah. And you can go to any particular part of history, anywhere in the universe, and choose to watch something. And that includes things that may happen in the future. What? I was listening to somebody the other day who said those people who are here on Earth at the moment chose to be here at this particular time to see this particular stuff happening in the world right now, because it is a significant part of the Earth's history happening right now.
I don't disagree. It is a very significant time at the moment. I will also say it's a very scary time to be around right now.
I think it is. But apparently those people who are here chose to be here to see and witness what's happening. Yeah. And I find that fascinating.
Yeah.
Absolutely fascinating.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
And that fits with the what dreams may come thing.
Yeah.
When they're, I'm not going to spoil it. I'm not going to spoil it. If you want to
No.
see it, go see it. Just saying, it's a good movie. But if you're anything like me, you'll cry.
So have I got anything else? What are the numbers for the lottery? Maybe the meaning of life.
I mean, to be honest, I think for me, the whole sort of concept of paranormal and life being more than just right now, right where we are. I think the epitome is keep asking questions. Don't try to find conclusive answers. Just keep asking questions. Keep looking.
Be open
for your own answers.
Be open to what for you feels right.
Yeah.
I think
it's kind of like the thing we say about life on other planets, things like this mission and another mission to the moon, and it's like, is there life on other planets? I go back to the book Contact, and a movie as well, where they talk about the fact that there are plenty of stars out there with planets, and planets that are the correct distance from their local star and therefore could very possibly have life. And then the concept of, if there isn't, seems like an awful waste of space.
Yeah.
Because I think it is. So I think it's got to be there.
It's like some of these planets, universes are so far away from us that to physically, I mean, look how long it's taken for these astronauts to even get to the moon.
Yeah, I mean, some of the things that they were saying, that if you could travel at the speed of light, it would still take you something like 20,000 years or something to reach the nearest life.
They're talking about sending something into space that weighs like a feather, so it can travel at immense amounts of speed because there's no weight to it at all.
So low mass, meaning that there's less restriction, not that there's much resistance
it's got
in space, but
it's like a tiny little sail or something that they were talking about, and with a chip on its shoulder. There you go.
Got a chip on its shoulder, yeah.
And being sent out to wherever it goes. But there you go.
I think asking questions and being curious, asking questions and looking for your own answers.
I mean, that open mind.
Being satisfied. Yeah, not necessarily being satisfied with the first answer that crosses your path.
And I don't think it's not wrong if you really feel like none of this is what you want to get yourself into.
Yeah.
You know, or I do believe, I personally believe that we are all spirits learning at different levels. So it's quite possible that somebody else younger than me could actually be an older spirit.
Yes.
Far more mature and far more knowing. There's one little boy, he's on TikTok, and I if I find him again, I will put a link on. This child is incredible. And he has been talking like this to his mother for, like, as soon as he could talk, he was telling her about life and what life was all about and what happens. You don't die. You learn here, you learn things here, and then you go back to spirit and you join with everyone else, and then you choose to come back somewhere else. It could be here, he said, or it could be somewhere else. It could be another dimension that you go to. But he's just explaining it. This kid is like about 8 now, and he talks like he's the most intelligent person, being, spirit. He just his mum asked him a question,
there's that whole thing of meeting a child, but there's that phrase of calling them an old soul.
Absolutely, yeah. You know they've been here before. It's like children who come, and by the time they're 3, they can play the piano and write beautiful music, and you just think, you've done this before. You've been here before. They just look like old souls, don't they? Just look into their eyes. I think animals are like that as well. I think animals are old souls that come along just at
the right time for the right people.
But for the right people,
yeah. I truly believe. There's not much that I believe, but I do believe that we turned up for Molly that day.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And I think Molly was supposed to be there. Yeah.
I wasn't originally there for Molly, but it was Molly I saw.
Yeah.
And it was Molly I knew immediately I could help. As much as I was there for a different dog, and we sorted that one out too.
Yeah. And I hadn't even seen Molly, but I knew she was coming home with us. I knew I was going to take her home, no matter what.
Yeah. It was like with Indy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't even set up at that point in terms of the business. And I called the lady and, set up a meeting for me to go and see if I could help this dog, because I listened to her talk about him and I was like, no, I'm pretty sure I can do something with this. I can help this dog. And all right, it came to the situation where I couldn't help that dog where he was. So I took him and helped him with me. That's fine. We can do that.
And she was more than happy that you took him.
Oh, bless her. I mean, she was so upset by the whole situation, and her saying, I just can't do it, through tears rolling down her face. I just can't do it, Steph.
Yeah. She was out of her depth. She was trying to help other dogs and other cats.
Yeah. She had other animals as well.
Yeah.
And he was terrified.
Yeah.
He needed one-to-one. He needed one-to-one help, support. He needed to build trust. He needed stability.
Yeah.
And consistency, and to feel safe. That's what he needed. And, thankfully, that's exactly what I was able to give him.
Yeah.
And yes, he became my absolute 100% my world for 8 years.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't have had it any other way.
No, exactly. I was just the same with Molly, because I had no plans to have another dog. I certainly had no plans to have a small dog. If
No,
anyone
small
knew
dogs
me,
never really happened in our little worlds.
never done small dogs. Always, I was always just like, no, I don't want a small dog. Small dog's not a dog, you know. But oh my goodness, she was my
Molly was such a big personality, though,
yeah,
and she had a very sad thing in terms of the fact that her owner had died,
yeah,
and she'd been left in the quote unquote care of somebody else who had not really cared for her.
no,
And then dumped her in a refuge.
yeah,
And then because she was frightened and she'd bitten somebody, she was considered to be unhomeable. And therefore, I was told, when I asked about her, I was told that she would die in the refuge because they weren't allowed to home her.
yeah,
And I said, what if you home her to us at our own risk?
yeah.
Would you let me do that? And she looked at me and went, yeah, I'll let you do that. And that was it. We went home with her, didn't we?
Yeah. Yeah, she came home with me. And it took about 3 days. 3 days until she ran away.
Yeah, bless her. Yeah.
Until she ran away. And we managed to find a dog that was no bigger than a rabbit, really.
Yeah. Yeah.
In miles and miles and miles of fields, countryside, and trees. And that told me that she was meant to be with us.
Yeah.
Because.
And the thing was that she'd gotten frightened and she bolted.
Yeah, that was all it was. But
Yeah,
she still wasn't really settled with me, but we'd just gone out for a little walk to just, you know, let her just use up a little bit of energy because she'd been stuck inside the back of her little cage with the door open, I might add. It was just there for her safety where she liked to retreat to. And she hadn't really come out of that, but she would come out to eat, and she did let me put a little collar on her to put this little lead on, and just pulled one way and the lead came out my hand, and that was it. And even with Misty there, because I had little Misty with me then, but even Misty couldn't get her to come back. And she just went off across the fields. And I had everybody in the whole town looking for her. Including you and Rich. And
I was going to say, we'd driven over there to see if we could help as well.
Yeah.
It was a bit of a scary moment, but we got her.
We did get her, because when we drove up, good old friend down the road got me in her car and we went off around the streets. We saw where she'd gone up the hill towards, and our friend suggested that we go round and go up to the farm, which was where she was heading. And as we went up there, she said to me, "What does she look like again?" And I said, "Like that," because there she was right in front of us. And with that, she took off in the barn, and thank God the barn had a proper back to it. And thank God she still had her lead on, because our friend was able to, with a puppy, a brand new puppy that was at the farm, they managed to get Molly's attention one side, and I came in the other side, stepped on her lead.
Stood on the lead.
With great big gardening gloves, because of course she'd bitten someone already. And I just grabbed her. She did bite the glove, but that was the very last time.
I mean, to be fair, if you're spooked and you've run and you've then found yourself cornered and, you know, by multiple, I would bite you as well. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But I would.
I was quite, I knew she was going to. No, not at all. No, not at all. But I tell you what, the minute we got her back in the van, and I had her wrapped in a towel on my lap, and then she, all of a sudden, her little face came up like this. She was like, "Oh, I'm in the car." She loved a car ride. Did Molly love a car ride or what? And she sat there on my lap, looking around like this, kept looking up at me, looking back. I was chatting away to her as we drove home. I couldn't have been happier than I was when I got home, and everyone was there, and we all ended up And from that time, I think you bathed her with another friend of ours and started cutting all her fur.
You and I bathed her in the sink in the utility.
Yeah.
And then me and that chap, he was just holding her, wasn't he? He was just stroking her and talking to her. And she went all soppy with him.
Yeah,
and I was just taking scissors and just cutting the little mats away from her tummy. And just because she was she was like one of those old fashioned mops, but just matted.
Oh yeah. I'll try and see
another thing, because I think she also was sore on her skin.
Oh,
so
very,
anytime they said to me in the refuge that, she bites every time you touch her, and I was like, I'm not surprised. Like, her skin must be under so much pressure. Like, she needs damn good groom,
Plus she couldn't see very well because
couldn't see anything. No,
all of her fur was in her face, so she couldn't even see people coming in at an angle. So, bless her heart.
When I went into the kennel with her, and I had a little slip lead because I had no collar that was going to fit her.
No,
and I didn't want to risk her slipping it out of it, so I had a little slip lead, and I sort of showed her the lead, put the little loop, across to her, and she bit the bottom of the loop, and I just held it there, and then she let go and she kind of backed up a little bit, and then I took it away, and then the second time I just said, "You all right? Should we try again?" And I put the lead back towards her, and she just lowered her head, and I just slipped it over her head. It was like, "Yeah, I'm not going to make you, darling. I'm not going to catch you. I promise." And it was a whole big trust exercise from there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But bless her heart, she was such a beautiful girl.
Oh, she was such a good girl.
Yeah. And it's like little and large. One extreme to the other.
It definitely is. And it was different colours. Molly was little tiny and black, and Indy was huge and white.
We've now been yakking for over an hour.
Yes, we're going. We're finishing. So much for not having a script.
Yeah, let's face it, we never struggle for anything to talk about.
No.
So that's all right. That's fine.
Yeah.
Well, with that being said, lovely people in the shack, keep your minds open and your lamps lit.
And we'll see you again next week at the Freakin Shack for whatever we decide to talk about. If you want to give us some ideas, pop them in the comments or send us a message at shackpackinbox@gmail.com.
Ask us some questions.
Yeah. Or send us some ideas for things to talk about. Thank you very much.
Take care, guys. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out in the shack with us. If you've got a strange story, theory, or even just a spooky question, send it to shackpackinbox@gmail.com because we'd love to hear from you. Follow us to ensure that you never miss an episode of the Freakin Shack, because listening to us is much cheaper than therapy and slightly more spooky. Until we meet again next week, Shackpackers, take care.